On the Other Side, a novel by Austin Taylor. Chapter 1. As I lay in my hospital bed after my third heart attack, I decided to write down a few things to leave for my friends and family. My family can do whatever they wish with it. Maybe turn it into a book. I don't care. I thought that I would tell the story that changed my life. First off, let me introduce myself. My name is Thomas. I'm 76 years old. In my mid-40s, I wrote stories for a living. I published a few books and they sold millions of copies. I was kind of a big deal at the time. That's why I allow anyone to turn this into a book if you can. Alright, enough of the bullshit. Let's tell the story. The year was 2008. I was 26 years young in the dark and lonely town of Nashville, Indiana. Let's be honest, I wasn't the luckiest guy on earth. When I was in high school, I got a girl pregnant who went by the name Marissa. I had no other choice except to drop out. I married her, and we moved into a double-wide trailer in Trailwood Trailer Parks. I got my GED and quickly got a job at the local supermarket, bagging groceries so that I can support my new family. I bagged groceries for all of the lazy-ass people who couldn't do it themselves. I had a mean boss as well. His name was Mr. Baker. Baker is the son of a self-made millionaire, and when his father passed on, he got all of the riches, making him the biggest certified asshole you would ever know. I despised him the most because he chose to use me as the example. I wasn't aware at the time that everyone around was physically stepping all over me. Every night I would come home to Marissa and my daughter Judith. I gave Marissa almost all the money I had so she can go downtown to play bingo. She had a bad gambling problem, and she didn't care. She was using me, and I knew it. But as long as I got to be with my daughter, I was willing to let it continue. It should be a surprise that I haven't killed myself yet, or killed someone else for that matter. We're getting way too ahead of the story. Anyways, I would feed Judith and tuck her in bed. I would stay up on the couch watching TV, waiting for Marissa to come home, but I always ended up falling asleep before she arrives. I would wake up at 8 a.m. sharp and start the day all over again. I didn't realize what was yet to come. Chapter 2. As I pour a bowl of cereal and a cup of coffee, KNN News reported that someone had ran into a tree in a drunk driving incident. After that, Marissa comes stumbling in and flops on the couch. Before I continue on with the story, I must tell you that one of my books from the past was turned into a movie. I didn't feel comfortable having someone else write the script, so I offered to do it. There might be some points in the story where it's like a movie script. I sure hope you don't mind. Alright, back to the story. What's wrong? I kinda sorta wrecked your car. You did what? I had a few drinks with Tracy, and while I was driving home, I blacked out and ran into a tree. Are you out of your damn mind? Judith begins to cry in her room, and I rush in there to calm her down. I carry her into the kitchen and sit her in the high chair. I give her breakfast and a kiss goodbye, grabbed my coat and left without saying another word to Marissa. Inside the garage was my destroyed car. The hood is bent, the windshield is smashed, and the grill is hanging by a couple of wires. I'm livid at this point, and was about to go back inside and tell her off, but instead, I get into the car and drove to work. I only did it for my daughter's sake. She didn't need to see Mommy and Daddy fight. I'm more surprised that the car still ran. While I bagged groceries, about an hour later, I began to doze off while standing there. It could have only been for a moment, but in my mind, it seemed like an eternity. In my daze, I'm in my trailer sitting on the couch. I get up and walk outside to the garage to find my car all brand new. It looked like I just bought it, as shiny as it was. It even still had the new car smell. I decided to take a drive around town. While I was driving into town, I noticed a girl walking on the sidewalk. She was everything I imagined in a girl. I guess the love at first sight quote is true. She had long, curly blonde hair, crimson red lips, and ocean blue eyes. I quickly pull the car over and walk up to her. Wow, you're the most beautiful girl I ever seen. Oh, thank you. I'm Thomas. I'm Grace. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Grace. You know, most girls would think you're pretty creepy stopping your car just to tell them they're beautiful. Yeah, you're right. But you really are. Stop, you're gonna make me blush. Are you seeing anyone? Maybe we can go to a movie or something. I don't know. You seem like a nice guy, but I just got over a bad relationship. Oh. But if you still want to see a movie as a friend, then I accept. Really? Sure. Okay, I'll pick you up around 8 p.m. What's your address? Promise me you're not a psychopath? I promise. Okay, it's 9831 Shady Lane. Alright, I'll see you then. I quickly hop into my car, and as I drive off, everything starts to move in slow motion. I then snap out of it to Mr. Baker yelling at me to get back to work and stop daydreaming. I was so confused, looking around and realizing what I had just witnessed was all a dream. During my break, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I couldn't stop saying her name. Grace. What a beautiful name. What a beautiful face. After work, when I pull into the driveway, I'm immediately greeted by Marissa at the front door, wanting more money to play bingo. Hey, I need some money. Didn't I just give you money? Yes, you did. Now I need more. You really need to start cutting back on this bingo nonsense. You never win. Come on, I'm feeling lucky tonight. What makes you so lucky tonight? When I was shopping with Tracy, we both saw a midget toting a box of Lucky Charms. And that's luck to you. Yes, you just don't see that every day. Wait, where was Judith when you went out today? She was with me, asshole. What kind of mother do you think I am? Never mind. How much do you need? About $2.50. I pull out my wallet and give her the money. She kisses me on the cheek and says, "You're the best." That kiss felt like acid when it hit my face, as pissed as I was. She takes my keys and hops into the car. Before she could start the car, I yell, "No drinking." Marissa comes back at me with a blah 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 and drove away. I walk inside, fed Judith, and put her to bed. This time I don't even try to wait up for Marissa. I've had enough of her at this point. I was thinking some awful thoughts, like maybe this time she will not ever come back. Let her have more than enough beers and crash into another fucking tree and end it all. Again, I wasn't thinking straight at the time, and I was soon going to regret it. I lay down in my bed and fall asleep. In a short moment, I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror, getting ready for my movie night with Grace. It was at that moment I realized that I must have created another world in my head or something, a place where I can escape my shitty and pitiful life. Driving down to Shady Lane, I can see her getting closer and closer as she stands in her front yard. She was wearing a white top with a jean jacket that has Rose Avenue on the back. She also had on navy blue Chuck Taylors with little gold letters on the side spelling out her name, Grace. I couldn't even think, let alone talk. I was wondering if I was high. Did I take the wrong medication? This can't be real, can it? This is so vivid. I quickly jumped out of the car and held the door open for her. We drove a few minutes to the local theater to wait in line. Anything in particular you wanted to see? Not really. I'm sure whatever you pick will be just fine. Welcome to the Grindhouse Theater. Hi, we would like 2 tickets for Zombie Werewolves 3D. While watching the movie, every time something scary would happen, she would shimmy into my arms. I knew this wasn't a date, but this was the next best thing to it in my eyes. It wasn't until about halfway through the film when she grabbed my hand. We both looked at each other in the dark with just the film illuminating us. Without hesitation, she leans in and kisses me. We both walk out of the theater, and I bring up enough courage to say something. So, that movie was good? Yeah, it was really scary. Why did you kiss me? I don't know, but I bet you liked it. Sure I did. I drove her back home and walked her to the door. We didn't say much at this point, just stared deep into each other's eyes. Fresh, lawn green eyes looking at ocean blue eyes. This time I lean in and kiss her. She doesn't pull away. She wraps her arms around and pulls me in. We giggle and I turn to leave. See you tomorrow? Sure. Chapter 3. I woke up in my bed late this time. In my life up to that point, I never woken up late. As I pour myself a cup of coffee, there's a knock at the door. Looking through the peephole, I can see 2 men in black suits. I slowly open the door, and they both hold up their shiny gold badges. What's the problem? Are you Thomas Smith? Yeah, what's going on? Your wife was in a car accident. What? She hit a tree. We believe she was drinking. I can't believe this. I was just talking to her last night. We're taking her up to the coroner, what's left of her, and you're going to have to come down and sign some papers. Have a nice day. The two men leave me standing there in my doorway in shock. I couldn't help but think at the time that a massive weight was lifted from my shoulders. I got a babysitter to watch Judith while I went to work, tipping a taxi driver $100 a step on it because I was running late. I clocked in about an hour and a half past the normal time of arrival. Mr. Baker was waiting for me by the locker room. I want to see you in my office. Listen, I know I was late today, and I'm truly sorry. My wife died this morning. I don't give a good goddamn if your house caught fire and both your wife and baby were killed. Whatever happened doesn't defeat the fact that you were late. Yes, sir. And you know I never liked you. Yes. So you know what I'm about to say. Yes. Well, to save you from embarrassment, go clean out your locker and leave your name tag on my desk. Yes, sir. I leave my name tag on his desk, cleaned out my locker and left. I got another taxi home. I give the babysitter $30, thanked her, and told her that I would call her if I needed her. Watching cartoons with Judith in peace, not worrying about how much money Marissa would ask for next. Unfortunately, there was no bingo in heaven. That night I get ready for bed, hoping to see her again. I closed my eyes, counted to 10, and before I knew it, I was in the other world. I drove over to Grace's house and knocked on the door. Nobody answers, so I knock a little harder. By knocking harder, it makes the door open. I saw that the door had been busted into. All of a sudden, I hear Grace crying. I ran upstairs to find her on the floor, holding her face, and a man pacing back and forth of the bedroom. I ran into the room and tackled the man to the ground. He falls and hits his head. While he's out, I help her off the floor. What the hell is going on? That's my ex-boyfriend. Did he hit you? Yeah, but I'll be fine. He found out I went out with you to the movies. He got a little jealous. Well, come on, pack a bag. You can stay at my place. She packs a few things into a garbage bag and hops into the car with me. What's that fool's name anyway? His name is Bryce. You should probably get a restraining order. That wouldn't help. That would just make him more angry. When he wakes up, he's going to be looking for you. Yeah, I know. I brought her back to my house and fixed her a cup of coffee. She was hysterical and started to cry again. I calmed her down and she went to the bathroom to wipe her tears. I stare at the garbage bag she packed when leaving her house, and I see a little pink address book. On the 5th page, third one from the bottom, is Bryce's address, supposedly. I stare at it for only a moment, and it was just enough. I quickly put the book back into the bag. She walks in the room and sits on the couch. Look, you can stay here as long as you want. You can even take my bed. No, I don't need to do that. I insist. Well, all right. That night she goes to bed. I lay on the couch flipping through the channels on the TV. Grace comes running into the living room, and I jolt off the couch. What's wrong? I'm scared. Can you sleep with me? Sure. As I lay in bed with her, I can feel my heart beating so fast I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. But bump. Grace rolls over and kisses me on the cheek and says good night. As I close my eyes, I smile as I fall asleep. I wake up in the bed the next morning, back in the real world. I quickly jump up looking for something to write with. I found a permanent marker but no paper. Instead of wasting time looking for paper and risk of forgetting, I write it on the wall. Bryce's address. I got dressed and drove to the address. Unfortunately, nobody was home. I got home in time to wake up Judith. I know it was a bad thing to do as a father, but I was in a hurry. I called the babysitter and left the house around noon to try and look for another job. My first place was at Tracker Brothers Trucking. I'm a good driver, so it shouldn't be a hard job. It pays good anyway. I give the boss my resume, and he looked at it for a moment. He begins to laugh at me and tells me there is no way he could ever hire me. I didn't understand what he was talking about at that moment, but I was sure to know soon enough. I went to several other jobs, and every single one of them denied me. The last place I tried was called BAM TV, a record store downtown in the mall. The owner was happy I was there. He needed more help. He had a lot of problems with shoplifters, and he wanted somebody strong and brave to watch the place at night. He was willing to pay $10 an hour, which is awesome. Before I left, he pulled me aside to tell me something. Look, I see that you're a nice fellow, and I think you should know this. What's the problem? Well, your old boss, Mr. Baker, told every store in town not to hire you. He told me personally that you were lazy. What an asshole. Calm down, boy. You have a job here. Thanks. Just know this. If you ever slack off in any way, you will lose your job so fast that you won't even have the time to say, sorry. Thank you very much for the opportunity. You start tomorrow night at closing time. I was very fortunate to get that job. I guess you could say that he felt sorry for me. He told me a few weeks after he hired me that he used to work for Mr. Baker's father, who used to own Atlantic Records. His name was Bobby, and he recorded a few singles there, and they did pretty well. He even got some radio time. Once Bobby got a little famous with his album, Mantastic, he ditched Baker Sr. to make his own record company. He called it Mantastic Records. I went home, paid the babysitter, I did my usual nighttime routine. I made sure Judith was fed and ready for bed, and then I made sure I ate as well. Sometimes when I'm stressed out, I forget to take care of myself. I put on my pajamas and got into bed. In my head, I'm thinking, maybe I'll see her again tonight. Will she still be in the bed next to me? Chapter 4. I open my eyes, look over, and she's no longer there. I become real sad until I can smell eggs and bacon being cooked in the other room. I walk down the hall to see Grace cooking breakfast. Good morning. Morning. Did you sleep well? Yeah, how about yourself? Pretty good. Food smells great. Oh, thank you. My mother taught me how to cook. We sat down and had a wonderful breakfast. We both got ready and decided to go up to the mall. She and I walked through almost every little shop they had in there. As we walked down to the food court, I passed the BAM TV record store that I got a job from in the real world. Inside I can see Bobby, and he shoots me a look like he wants to talk. I tell Grace to go find a place to sit for lunch, and I would catch up with her. I walk into the store and up to Bobby. I saw that girl you're with. She's beautiful. Thanks. We just met not too long ago. There was a few moments of silence, but then Bobby says, It's wonderful, isn't it? What? This world. In here, everything is perfect. What are you talking about? The dream world, stupid. How do you know about the dream world? Are you serious? Everyone dreams, right? Yeah. And everyone creates their fantasies in their dreams. Yeah, I guess you're right. This place is great. I like to call it the Abyss. That's a neat name. I like to think of the Abyss as a game. You can do whatever you want, and everyone who dreams gets to live out their biggest fantasy every time they sleep. But every fantasy comes with consequences. Wow, that's deep. What's your fantasy? To be famous again. I've got a new album coming out in a week or two, and I'm starring in a new movie. Hey, mister, can I have your autograph? Sure, kid. Wow, thanks. No problem. Stay in school. It sure feels good to sign an autograph again. Well, I gotta go. Alright, I'll see you at work. Okay. I walk into the food court and Grace had found a seat and I had a tray of food. Where'd you go? Oh, I went to the record store. Cool. We finished eating and went back home. Relaxing on the couch and watching TV, she falls asleep next to me. I pick her up and put her in the bed. I put on my shoes and went outside to think. I met another dreamer. How many more could be out here? Is it safe to give people that kind of power? What would their fantasy be? At that moment, a white van pulls up. This van was driving very odd. It was starting to bother me. This van needed a big sign that says free candy, as creepy as it was driving. Suddenly, it slams on the brakes right beside me, and I get pulled in. I must have gotten hit in the head because everything went black for a bit. I didn't think it was possible to be knocked out in a dream. I open my eyes and standing above me is my old boss, Mr. Baker. Only he looks different. He's bald and has a scar on his face. He's wearing a black Versace suit and a gold Rolex on his wrist. He's holding a pistol with a silencer in one hand and a lit cigar in the other, looking like a James Bond villain. Mr. Baker? That's Snake. Mr. Baker is dead. In my mind, I'm thinking, shit, this man is going to kill me. This is a real bad situation to be in, so I said the only question I could think of. What do you want? Shut the hell up. There was a pause that lasted for what seemed like forever, and then he said, Would you believe that this little fart used to work for me in the real world? The two guys standing behind him I haven't noticed until now began laughing. They too were wearing nice and expensive suits holding pistols with silencers, and smoking cigars. He yells at them to shut up, and they both stop laughing. He looks back at me and says, "I got a job for you to do." "What?" "There's a bank downtown, and we're planning on robbing it, but there's only one problem." "What would that be?" "My criminal record. If I get caught doing this act, I could be sent to prison again." "What does that matter to you? Once you go to sleep in there, you'll go back to the real world." "True, but I'm going to make you do it, so if you get caught, it won't be my problem." "What if I say no?" "Well, I can always kill your girlfriend. You lay one finger on her, I swear you will do nothing. As long as you do as you're told, she will be safe. Now what's it going to be?" "All right." "That's a good boy. Now get the fuck out." The two men throw me out of the van, and it sped off down the street. The dust that the tires left behind were way too thick to even see a license plate number. I stand up, dust myself off, and walk back into the house. Grace was still in bed, so I lied down beside her and closed my eyes. I wake up as the sun shines through my bedroom window. At that moment, my phone rings, and it's the coroner's office. I still need to sign some papers down there, so I quickly got dressed. As I was about to leave the room, I look up at the wall and see Bryce's address. Staring at it for only a moment, then I turn and leave the room. I drove up to the office and signed the papers. Apparently Marissa's parents had already paid for her funeral, so at least I didn't have to lose all of that money. I know I'm being cruel, but at the time, this is what I was thinking. As I turn to leave, the coroner says, "Are you planning on going to the funeral?" "No." Chapter 5. I drove up to the supermarket and walked through the doors. I was looking for Baker, that fucking bastard. I ran up to the only person I see, and it just so happened to be Jerry, a friend of mine while I worked there. "Hey Thomas, what's up?" "Where's Baker?" "Shh, calm down." "Where is that sack of shit?" "Come outside so you don't disturb anybody." We walked out to the parking lot and continued our conversation. "What's your problem, Thomas?" "I want to see Mr. Baker." "Well, I hate to be the one to tell you this. Looks like you want to rip his head off, but he quit not too long ago." I walk away from Jerry, leaving him in the parking lot extremely confused. I'm screaming and hitting the steering wheel in rage. He knew. He knew I would come looking for him. After stopping the car at the park and had some time to calm down, I tried looking for Grace. If she's in the dream world, she has to be a real person, right? What if she's trying to find me as well? I find the street she lives on by memory. I ran up to the front door and knock. A man and a woman answer. "Can I help you?" "Yeah, is there a Grace here?" "No, there isn't." "Okay, thanks. Sorry to bother you." How could this be? Did the dream world get something wrong? I drove back to the house, paid the babysitter, and watched some TV until it's time for work. Around 8:30 p.m. I got ready and took Judith to her grandparents for the night. When I got married to Marissa, her mom and dad were always welcome with open arms every time we visited. Now it's more like they don't know who I am anymore. I feel like they blame me for their daughter's death. It's not my fault she got drunk and ran into a tree. I drove up to the mall and went inside where Bobby was waiting. "Right on time. You ready?" "Yes." "Alright, well, this is a very easy job. Just look after the place, and if there's any trouble, just give me a call." "Okay. I'll see you in the morning. Bye." Being that the record store is in the mall, I'll be locked in there all night. I sit in the chair at the desk, and it's way too quiet. I put on my iPod and listen to some music. After about an hour of sitting there and scrolling through various tunes, I fell asleep. I open my eyes and I'm in my bed. I walk into the living room to find Grace watching TV. "It's about time you got up." "What time is it?" 10. "Look, I need to go somewhere, and I'll be back in a little bit." "Okay." "Lock the door behind me when I leave you, okay?" "Yeah, sure. Are you alright?" "I'm fine." I get ready and leave the house. There has to be a connection between the dream world and the real world. How come she doesn't live in the real world? I arrived there and opened the door and started to look around the house. Not much catches the eye except for a few guitars and CDs laying around. I pick one up, and it's a full album, recorded by Grace. I didn't know she had a full album and everything. I looked closer, and the year on the album was dated 1998, 10 years ago. The strange thing is that she looks exactly the same on the front cover as she does now. After plunging for about 20 more minutes, I hear the front door creak open. I slowly walk into the other room, and standing there is Bryce. Grace's ex. I thought that I'd find you here. Look, I don't want any trouble. Trouble? No trouble. Except for the fact you stole my girlfriend. You knocked me out. I was just protecting her. Bryce stares at me with a blank expression for a moment, and then grabs a baseball bat lying beside the door. He hits me several times until I'm on the floor covered in blood. You stay the fuck away from her. He kicked me one final time and left the house. It took me about an hour to get up off the floor. I drove back to the trailer and limped my way to the door. I knocked and Grace lets me inside. Oh my God, what happened? I went over to your house and Bryce showed up. And he did this to you? Yeah, but I'll be alright. She gets the med kit from the bathroom and dresses my battle scars. We sit there in the living room and she starts talking. When I was at your house, I found something. What? I reach in my jacket pocket and pull out her album. Inside the case, the disc had broken 2 pieces. I guess it was when Bryce was beating the piss out of me. I didn't know that you were a singer. I'm not famous, if that's what you mean. I just recorded an album for my church, and we made about 200 copies for friends and family. Can you sing one? Sure. As we sat there in the living room with the bright sun slowly going down, she sings me one of her songs. Even though her CD was broken, she could sing perfectly on the spot. Her voice was something special, the voice of an angel. After one song, she and I got ready for bed. She went to the bedroom while I turned out the lights. As I start to walk into the bedroom, I get a quiet knock at the door. I open it to see a van rush away. I look down to find a note that said, "Tomorrow, be ready, or your girlfriend gets it. Snake." Chapter 6. I open my eyes as the night turns to day. I'm greeted by Bobby, who was standing above me. I don't know how long he was there for. Judging by the clock, he was standing there for almost 20 minutes when the mall opened. Either that or the clock was fast. Sleep well? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sleep that long. It's fine, I doze off in here sometimes. Well, I'll be here same time tonight? Yes. I leave the mall and hop into the car. On my way to Marissa's parents' house to pick up Judith, I see Mr. Baker walking into a strip club. It wasn't even a nice one. It was one of those dirty ones where the homeless people piss in the back. The place was called Spice. It was really popular in the 80s, but since then it got run down really bad. The bartenders spit in the glasses to clean them. The liquor is half water to save money. The strippers were either drug addicts, pregnant, or both. I parked the car across the street to get to him. By the time I got inside, he was nowhere to be seen. I walk over to the bartender and describe what he looked like. He said that he's in the back getting a lap dance. I say thank you and rush over the curtain where all the private dances were held. The security stops me, and I shove him out of the way. The third curtain in there was closed, so I ripped it open, and there he was. I pick him up and slam him against the wall, and the half-naked stripper screams and ran away. Well, look who it is. Please, don't hurt me. Don't hurt you. You had a lot of big words for me in the dream world. Wanted me involved in a bank robbery, and if I refused, you would harm my girlfriend. After a moment of him shaking like a little girl, he pushes me and I hit the other wall. He pulls out a pistol and holds it to my head. If you don't do what I tell you, the girl will die. He gets up and runs away. I try to chase him, but by that time the police had arrived and threw me to the ground. They haul my ass to jail downtown. I begged the cops to let me have 2 phone calls instead of the usual one. The first phone call was to Marissa's parents to tell them that I was going to be late. I mean, what else could I say? Hey, I'll be a few hours late. Daddy's just in jail for assault and disturbing the peace at a dirty strip club. The second phone call was to Bobby, so he can bail me out. How much? $500. Well, shit, what'd you do? Hold up a gas station? No, I found Mr. Baker at a strip club, and I was charged for assault and disturbing the peace. I might have raised my voice and pushed 1 or 2 people. All right, I don't want to hear any more. I'll bail you out, but it's coming out of your pay. I understand. I can't get the money until tomorrow, so you have to stay the night. Are you fucking crazy? Half the people here look like they want to kill me. Well, I'm sorry, bud. I don't have the money right now. I'll see you tomorrow. I hang up in frustration. As I sit on the cold, hard bench, an officer takes me to my cell. On my walk of shame, I'm being stared at by the other inmates. Like I had told Bobby on the phone moments ago, these people didn't look friendly at all. Each cell held 2 people, and each one of them looked worse than the first. I begin to panic a little. I am now aware that I might have a bunkmate. I start to think to myself, who is this person going to be? A crackhead? A murderer? Could I possibly look out and get a cell all to myself? When I finally get to my cell, unfortunately there was somebody else in there, but he was asleep, so maybe he won't bother me. The cell door closes and reality starts to sink in. I knew I had fucked up really bad, but I was really worried about the situation in the dream world. Maybe if I stay awake, I won't have to rob a bank. But what if I stay awake and Baker, Snake, does something to Grace? I lay on my bunk and pray to God for him to watch over me and to forgive me for the sin I'm about to commit. My eyes close and I wake up in the bed. I look over to see Grace asleep and I'm immediately relieved that she's okay. I get dressed as quietly as I could and walked into the kitchen to pour a cup of coffee. The rim of the coffee mug didn't have time to touch my lips before I was hit in the head. I can't move or barely breathe. Hearing the muffled screams in the back room that only can be Grace, I try to stand up. I look up to see a blurry silhouette getting closer and closer to me and takes one more whack at my head. I blacked out, and when I woke up I was tied to the back of Snake's van. The cloud of smoke surrounds my vision, and when it clears it reveals Snake in the flesh. My hands quickly reach out to grab him, but the rope won't go that far. "Ah, Thomas, nice of you to join us. Where's Grace?" "Who? Oh, your girlfriend. What did you do to her?" "Nothing. Yet." "I want to talk to her." "Sure." Snake goes over to the other side of the van and pulls off a sheet. Underneath is Grace, tied up and crying to me. Snake removes her gag and she starts shouting at me, yelling things such as, "When were you going to tell me you were in the fucking mafia?" I tell her to calm down and that I will explain everything. Snake puts the gag and sheet back over her and says that was enough conversation. "If you think I'm going to rob a fucking bank, then you're crazy." "That's fine. I'll just have to kill her then. Or better yet, I think I'll have some sexual fun with her before I do." "No!" "Are you going to do what you're told?" "Yes, I'll do whatever you want. Just don't hurt her." That's a good boy. The van stops in the alley across the street from the bank. Snake's buddies untie me and he tells me what I need to do. "All right, listen very carefully. Your girlfriend's life depends on it. You're going to hold everyone in there at gunpoint, and you're going to tell them that if they don't open the safe, that you're going to splatter their brains all over the floor. Once you do all of that and successfully bring the money back, I'll give you your girlfriend back." He hands me the gun and the bag. I place both of those items in my jacket pockets. "Remember, get in there and make them open the safe. Fill the bag till it's on the verge of ripping, and get out there as quick as possible." He opens the van's sliding door and pushes me out. Slamming the door behind me, I can hear Grace whimper before I walk away. I walk real slow crossing the street to the bank, and I'm greeted by the bank security guard. He told me that he was about to lock up for the afternoon, and also told me to hurry in there. I assured him that I wouldn't be long. I stand in the doorway, took one deep breath, and said quietly to myself, "There's no turning back now." Chapter 7. I walk inside and around in circles for a few moments. The security guard walks in behind me, wondering what I'm up to. I need to do something before he catches on, or anyone in there catches on for that matter. I want her back, and I'm willing to do the inevitable. Taking a big gulp, squeezing my hands so tight they begin to bleed a little, I slowly reach into my jacket pocket and pull out the gun. Everyone in there screams and raises their hands in the air. I quickly forget about the security guard because my heart was pumping so much adrenaline. He yells freeze and points his gun at me. My body stiffens and my skin turns pale white when I hear the security guard pull back the hammer of his revolver. I tell him to put the gun down and that this was none of his business. He starts to count down from 10 and said that if I didn't drop the gun, he was going to put me down. 10, 9, 8. "Come on, this has nothing to do with you." 7, 6, 5, 4. "You don't know what I'm dealing with. Please just leave me be." 3, 2, 1. Bang. I had turned around right when he said 1, and we both shot each other. His bullet went into my shoulder, and my bullet went into his chest. He fell to the ground, and the other people in there screamed even louder. I didn't want to kill the guy, but he was going to kill me, and I had no other choice. I need to get that money fast. I slowly get off the floor and see the blood rushing out of that poor security guard who just so happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. I couldn't hold it together. The tears start to pour down from my eyes. I felt horrible for this man. What if he had a wife and kids in the real world? The gun I'm holding is shaking at this time, and while crying I asked them as nicely as I could to open the safe. The safe door opens and I get in there, filled the bag and zipped it up and got the hell out of there. I rush over to the van and threw the bag to Snake. He then slams the door before I can get inside. Hey, give her back! We had a deal! No, I think I'll keep her for a little while longer. The van sped off and again I hear the whimper of Grace get quieter and quieter as the van leaves from view. Running down the road till I could barely breathe, I fell down in the middle of the road. The police sirens were getting much louder now. I quickly hide in the alley behind a shit-smelling dumpster. I'm now a wanted man in the dream world. As I watch the police cars pull up and head towards the bank, a hand pulls me into one of the buildings from the alley. I'm almost in panic mode, but the mysterious person tells me to be quiet and that he was not going to hurt me. The light turns on so I can see the person's face. It was Bryce, Grace's ex. What the fuck do you want? Calm down, I'm here to help you. What do you mean you're here to help me? Just what I said, I'm here to help you. Look, I'm sorry for beating you up. I was drunk and really upset at the time. Well, I gotta go. They have Grace. You can't go. If the cops catch you in the dream world, you could be stuck in the dream world forever. What do you mean? They will unplug you from the real world, leaving you technically brain dead in the real world. How do you know the cops are after me? Because I used to work for Snake. You son of a... Whoa! I didn't know they were going to take Grace. As a matter of fact, I didn't know they had any conflict with you at all. I was at his house when they were talking about the robbery plan, and they mentioned both your name and Grace's. You need me. I can get you to Snake. I don't care if I ever get to see her again. I just want to tell her I love her. You will get that chance if you let me help you. What do we do first? First, we need to get some rest. Are you crazy? What if they're hurting her right now? They won't risk it just yet. They might even try to get more out of you if need be. Trust me. Live today, fight tomorrow. I lay down on this nasty-smelling army cot. As I lay there, I begin to think if I'll ever see her again. I love her so much, and I want to spend the rest of my life with her, if that means nearly killing myself in the process. I closed my eyes and woke up to the sound of someone banging on my cell door. I jolt up in a panic to this cop telling me that someone bailed me out. I walked out of jail and was greeted by Bobby outside. Well, good morning, sunshine. Don't talk to me. What's wrong? Someone tossed your salad in there? The entire car ride to my house was the quietest ever. The radio wasn't even blasting any music, just on that white noise sound of a station that was canceled years ago. The car stopped and I got out. I know I shouldn't have been mad at him. It wasn't his fault. Realizing I was acting like a total ass, I turned around and talked to Bobby. Look, I'm sorry. I'm just so upset. I just got a lot going on right now. It's okay. I might need a few days off of work. Sure, take all the time you need, but it's coming out of your pay. Okay. I went inside and first called Marissa's parents and asked them if they could keep Judith longer. They weren't happy, but they said okay and hung up on me. The second thing I did was go to my room and wrote down Bryce's address. I go outside of the garage and forgot that my car was impounded when I got arrested. So I had to call a taxi. The guy that showed up must have been high on something. He was acting really strange and energetic. Where do you want to go, mister? Haven Road. You got it. Oh, hey, you want to buy some weed? I beg your pardon? Do you not understand fucking English? I said you want to buy some weed. No thanks. I'm not a cop, so don't worry. I sell the best weed on this beautiful flat earth. My own mother buys for me sometimes. No, that's okay. I only have enough money for the cab fare anyway. Suit yourself. Here we are. Haven Road. Thanks. Here's the money. Thank you. Hey, if you ever want some weed, just let me know. Here's my card. Okay, thanks, Noah. If the garage door is open, you can come in. If it's closed, stay the hell away. The cab speeds away like it's an extra on a Fast and Furious film. I took a deep breath and walked up to Bryce's front door. Chapter 8. I knock on the door and it slowly opens, and I see his face peek out through the crack. Once he realizes who it is, he opens the door much faster and invites me in. The inside of his house might as well have been straight out of a horror movie. There was old pizza boxes and empty beer cans all over the floor, and no power. There was a bunch of newspapers taped to each window, leaving it pretty dark in there. He sits down, and so do I. We sit there in silence for a moment, and then he finally speaks up. "You're bleeding." "I'll be fine. What's the plan?" "I'm going to be completely honest with you, and I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. What we're about to do is seriously dangerous. We're risking both of our lives." "I know." "When we enter the dream world, we will sneak into Snake's home, kill him and his crew, and save Grace." "What makes you say this plan won't work?" "I don't know." We talked for a few hours, and the entire time it seemed that something was eating at Bryce. Like he had an extremely bad thought in his mind, and it wouldn't go away. I didn't really comment on it, but it was definitely something I was paying attention to. Around 8 p.m., when the sun was being interrupted by the moon, Bryce lights a single candle there in the living room. This illuminates us both sitting there, and some of the room around us. We both lay back in our chairs, and the room slowly gets blurry as we fall asleep. We woke up back where we left our other bodies in the dream world. "You ready?" "I'm ready." Bryce calls for a cab using a payphone. As we stand there, the taxi cab comes screeching down the road and stops in front of us with a loud sound from the tires. I'd be damned if it wasn't the same guy who drove me to Bryce's house not too long ago. "Well, look who it is!" "You're a dreamer too?" "We're all dreamers, don't you realize that? We all dream something we want on this beautiful flat earth." "Let's go." "Where to?" "Sherman Oaks." "You got it." The cab drops us off, and we walk up the road to Snake's house. I had never seen a house so big in my entire life. Think about Scarface's mansion and stack 3 more layers on top. This asshole wished to be Scarface, dreams it, and now he's got my wish hostage. Bryce pulls a small can of spray paint out of his pocket to blank out the security cameras. I'm seeing the look of concern on his face again, and this time I don't stay quiet. I try to ask him what's wrong, and he kept saying not to worry about it. Bryce knocks out the guy standing at the gate and takes his gun. Judging from his name tag that said Ginger, he must have been new. When I first started working at the supermarket, Baker gave me a nickname as well. We ran up to the house and stood at the door. Bryce wishes me luck and tells me there's no turning back now. I close my eyes and pray to God as we kick the door open. Standing there was all of Snake's pals that were in the van. They were playing pool, smoking cigars, and talking smack to one another. Now they are staring at us with murder intentions. We both opened fire and shot about 2 of them, until one of the flying ammunition hits Bryce. I shot the rest of them and tried to help him off of the floor. He kept hollering at me that he will be fine and that I needed to hurry. There wasn't much time. He was right. There wasn't much time at all. The fight wasn't over. We may have killed the worst of the worst downstairs, but neither of them was Snake. He had to be upstairs. I ran up there and kicked open the 2 doors at the top. Snake stood in there, staring back at me with hate in his eyes, with Grace in his arms, and a .44 Magnum pointed straight at her head. "You make one more step and I will blow her fucking brains out. You don't have to do this. Put your gun down." I dropped the gun and almost in tears. I get lost inside my mind for a moment. Her life was at stake. I can't let that happen. I love her. I snapped out of it, took a deep breath, and said the one thing I could think of. "Grace, I just want you to know something. No matter what happens, I love you with all my heart." "I love you too." "Aw, shut the hell up. This romance shit is boring me to death." I quickly pick up my gun, and I shoot Snake in the leg. He screams in agony and falls to the floor. Grace breaks free from Snake's grasp and ran towards me. Snake sits up and shoots. The bullet goes through Grace. She slams into the wall and falls to a sitting position. I drop my gun, run over to Snake and landed on him, wrapping my hands around his throat and squeezing tightly. He shoots me in the shoulder in the same bleeding spot from earlier, and I didn't even feel it in my mad wrath. I squeezed harder and harder until his face turned blue, and he died. I let go and ran across the room to Grace, who was still alive but bleeding pretty bad. "You're gonna be okay. I feel so tired." No, don't go to sleep. Come on. Let's go to the hospital." I pick her up, and ran down the stairs where Bryce is waiting by the door. We take Snake's van while Bryce drove as fast as he could. I'm in the back seat with Grace, and things aren't looking good. Just hold on, you're going to be okay. Just hold on. I love you. I couldn't hold it together. I broke down again over her. Meanwhile, Bryce is driving like a maniac to get us to the hospital. I love you too. Grace! Grace! Bryce, hurry up! We're almost there! Grace, please don't die. I love you. Grace! We pull up to the hospital and I pick her up. Bursting through the door, I yell for a doctor. They get a stretcher to roll her to a room. They tried to get me to a room as well, from my battle scars, but I refused. Standing outside the room, I can hear them in there trying to bring her back. I slid down the wall and sat on the floor. Minutes turned to an hour, and then the doctor came out. She's gone. No! I pushed the doctor out of the way and held her in my arms. I hugged her and cried. The doctor brought me into another room, fixed my gunshot wounds, and brought me into the waiting room. At this point, I didn't even have the strength to stand anymore from all the blood it lost. I sat down in one of the chairs there, and Bryce followed once he got his wound fixed. I cried there until I fell asleep. It took me longer to snap out of this dream than any other time before. It felt like I was floating in outer space without a helmet. My eyes open, and the world around me begins to focus. I see Bryce standing in front of me. I start to cry again, and Bryce stops me, looking concerned again. I've got something to tell you. Chapter 9. I'm broken. I'm a fucking mess. I can't focus, talk, or even breathe. My heart was beating so fast it felt like I was going to die right then and there. The tears streaming down my face dried up. The gunshot wounds on my shoulder had stopped bleeding and were healed. Bryce gets my attention once again. What did you say? I said I have to tell you something. Please save your breath. Whatever you have to tell me can't be as fucked up as what just happened. Bryce sits back in his chair and begins to cry himself. Something was really wrong and I wanted to get to the bottom of it. I quickly stand and grab Bryce by the shirt. I slam him into the wall, breaking a picture frame of an 8x10 photo with him and Grace. What is going on? There's something you need to know about Grace. She's been dead for the last 10 years. What are you talking about? We dated for a few months until I began drinking and I was abusing her. I didn't mean any of it. It was the Jack talking. She left me and started dating this rich architect. She wasn't aware that this guy was cheating on her with 4 other girls. Once they all found out, they decided to hunt him down. He ended up shooting her in the stomach. One of the other girls went psycho and shot the guy in the face. Those girls are in prison now. Once I realized I could dream of this alternate world, I wished for her back. I thought I could save her. And then you came along and fucked it up. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. I should have told you. I know you really liked her. He grabs a crumpled up newspaper from the floor and shows the obituary section. Grace Michelle Hamilton, 28 years old, died on Saturday night. She is survived by her mother Pam and father Adam. She grew up loving music and was always playing some sort of musical instrument. She recorded her first album for her church. Her funeral service will be at Glen Haven Cemetery on Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. Join them so we can celebrate her life. I dropped the paper and left Bryce's house. I didn't hail a cab. Instead, I walked in the pouring rain to the cemetery. I looked around for a few minutes until I found her grave. I couldn't hold it together again. Like I said, I was a mess. I had never felt so empty in my life. I had thoughts of suicide. I couldn't live without her. I need her. I love her. No one believes in love at first sight until that special person comes along and steals your heart. I walked home to find Marissa's parents and Judith waiting in the garage. Where have you been? You've been neglecting your daughter for several days. I'm gonna call child services on you. Call then. What did you say? I said call then. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had your heart crushed? Have you ever felt so empty that you wanted to fucking kill yourself? Have you? I didn't fucking think so. I sit on the ground and cry my eyes out. Judith wiggles her way out of her car seat that was sitting there. She crawls over to me and gives me a hug. I cry some more, but this was more of a happy cry. In my mind, I was thinking something good to say, but without really thinking, I look at Judith and tell her this. Judith, I wish I could explain your eyes, and how the sound of your voice gives me butterflies, how your smile makes my heart skip a beat, and how every time I'm with you, I feel so complete. I love you. Epilogue. That's the story, and I'm sticking with it. I haven't told this story to anyone until now. I never dreamed about Grace again after that night those many years ago. I also never got married again. I figured one and done was good enough for me. Bryce and I didn't talk for a long time until about a week ago when he found out I was in the hospital. He came in and visited me, and he's doing great. He got married to a lovely woman named Iris, and I had 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. He too never dreamed about Grace again. Bobby is also doing great. His wish came true. He finally released the album he'd been working on, and it went triple platinum. He also wrote a book, starred in several movies, and was put into the Hall of Fame. He's 106 years old. My daughter grew up, got married, and had me some grandkids. I did get a hold of Grace's parents, and I told them the story. We're close friends now. Grace's life will live on through the pages of this book, and in my memory, until that too fades away. I've learned the older I get, the less I remember. I do wonder if I'll ever see her again. The best love is the kind that awakens the soul, that makes us reach for more, that plants the fire in our hearts and brings peace to our minds. That's what I hope to give you, Grace. I love you. I hope to see you again on the other side. The end. This book was begun in Macon, Georgia on February 8th, 2018, and completed in Macon, Georgia on August 11th, 2018.